where we bring you conversations with professionals, industry leaders, entrepreneurs, and stakeholders, helping us understand the trends, opportunities, and challenges shaping business growth in today's economy. And of course, the 2026 West African Senior School Certificate Examination results have generated significant discussion among students, parents, schools, and education stakeholders across Nigeria. While the release of the result provides an important assessment of student academic performance, concerns surrounding some of the outcomes have also raised questions about examination standards, transparency, and the broader state of secondary education. Another major development is the continued transition towards computer-based testing for the WAEC, following the introduction of the CBC model for schools certificates in 2025. Its continued use in 2026 has intensified conversations about Nigeria's preparedness, particularly in relation to infrastructure, internet connectivity, digital skill appropriate examination facilities, and there are also concerns surrounding withheld results, examination malpractice, unexpected greater accountability and transparency from examination authorities. These developments have implications not only for students and their parents or families, but also for university admissions, educational planning, and confidence in Nigeria's examination system. As this conversation continues, it is important to examine the issues from the perspective of someone with extensive experience in the education sector and a close understanding of the realities facing Nigerians and institutions. And with that today, we are discussing WAEC 2026 results under scrutiny, what CBC transition and withheld scores mean for students and Nigeria's education system. Joining us in the studio this morning is Mr. Moji Alabi. He is an educationist with over a decade of experience in the education sector, educational and examination system, giving him valuable challenges, opportunities, and policy issues affecting students and institutions. As an educationist and team lead at their reporting, it's an informed perspective to conversations around education, student development, examination systems, and the evolving Nigeria. And of course, good morning and welcome to Trade FM's Breakfast Business Briefing.
Thank you so much. Good morning to you. Good morning to listeners.
Good morning, sir. And how are you doing this morning, sir?
Doing fine, as usual. Thank you.
All right, sir. So, sir, you've been in the education for over a decade now. So you're seeing a lot of changes. Why are these, especially with all the reactions that have followed this year's exam and results?
Yeah, once again, thank you very much. We must commend you and commend the initiator of this noble and idea. So talking about the West African Senior School Certificate Examination, yes, WAEC was the first in the whole of West African region to introduce what is called computer-based testing model for performance test. You know, one thing that we need to first realize is there are different modes of performance-based examination. Is the one conducted by Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, because it only ranks percentage. You understand? It doesn't have accumulated performance of tests of different candidates. It only says, okay, we have about 1,000 slots for candidates, and maybe about 30,000 want to apply to rank. Performance doesn't just what individual right. It also has to look at what have you done from JSS to JS3. Introducing this anyway, say that mode of examination, you are just making a lot of noise. It's not CBT. Only about 45 schools actually CBT. So most schools did not take CBT and in Osun, for instance, CBT and in Osun, for instance, all the 6 schools that opted for CBT had complaints, especially with their results. Other 6 schools had complained. I think about 5 others also had complained. That to state about 5 others also had complained. That to state protests. And it also happened this year. Last year, people stay in the examination hall around 20%. So it's a major challenge, and we saw that this focus is going to also affect what we do. You don't, nobody climbs the tree from the top. Yes. You must start from the bottom. What is the infrastructure? What is the internet penetration rate? What's our power infrastructure? Do we have electricity? In most of them schools, no solar, no national grid. So what are you talking about? So that's the challenge. Even those who are in the cities, in number, about 3-4 days now, there have been no light. So that's a challenge. About 4 or 5 communities have not experienced power, no power solution in the last 3-4 days. And in that kind of a system, you want to have exams. People are writing an exam in the University of Lagos the other day, and they were in the dark. So what are you talking about? That's an institution. So what happens to basic and secondary system? So that's the challenge. So we saw it coming.
So let's be honest, beyond these wide decisions, as the CBT, do you think Nigeria is actually ready for CBT? You just did some complaints. Do you think we're actually ready for CBT examinations?
I've just explained that our internet penetration level is very low. Okay. So definitely we are not prepared. We have a lot of institutions, a lot of academic institutions, schools that are in the remote areas. If you have traveled out of Lagos, you will understand how terrible the situation is. There are some schools that are not even, the roads to those places are not terrible. Not to talk of internet facility, not to talk of power. So how do you want them to participate in that examination? It's an examination that you can do and say, oh, somebody is just going to gather for just 1 hour. You have just a single subject, English, mathematics, you can spend your hours. So how do you do that? They said you are going to be reading your questions online. How many of these students are even trained enough to understand how computers work? How many teachers are even trained enough? And we always give this example. When the former governor of Osun State, Areshola, introduced Opoimo, we saw the failure from the beginning because we said it, that is not sustainable. Schools that have no chairs, well, you are asking people to come go and be reading, go and be having tablets. They call it tablet of knowledge, Opoimo. So it eventually became Opoimo. Tablet of zero. Absolutely worked. Because we saw it. The teachers that you are recruiting people are also untrained themselves. They were not trained. The students, immediately they take the tab and they go home. Nobody is able to even understand what they were to do with it. And many of them were downloading. We told them that students will be downloading. We told the deputy, when we met the deputy governor at that time, around 2012 or 2013, and we told the deputy governor of Osun State, who was in charge of education at that time, and we said, look, this thing will fail. These children will rather download content unrelated to education on this. And that was what happened eventually. So it is because the decision makers in Nigeria don't factor stakeholder engagement. They don't factor the critical stakeholders when they are taking decisions. And through engagement, you are able to weigh in options. You don't just wake up. So what they do is that, depending on which side they wake up on their bed, and they just say, this is our policy, and it becomes a law. That cannot work. That is why we continue to fail as a people. We continue to fail. We have brilliant policies are not right. The implementers are going to fail. So it's not. You should talk about the foundation for such policies.
So of recent, we've seen cases of a body threatening to take wife to court, and we've seen parents complaining that my child is brilliant, the result you actually gave to my child is not what is expected. Now, what's your take on that, sir?
I know how many parents actually reach out to me. I know how many schools complain to us. We took it up as well. We engaged WAEC, and we told them that these people never lodged this kind of complaint 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Why is it now that these complaints are coming? People believe. And you know, when the future of a child is going to be affected, if you have invested, not even in terms of money, because it means that this person will have to register again. You have to consider the timing. You have to, because this is a country where people only know when they are going to, you only know when you gain admission. It's only until very recently that the academic calendar is stable. And by the time people's time is wasted because somebody committed an error, and that error has now taken like a year or two away from some. We have candidates who scored very high mark in post-UTME, but unfortunately, their SSC is giving them something else. It means that there is no correlation. It means don't compare. Because before now, we used to test. That's why if you want to gain admission to a school like the University of Lagos, you are going to use three qualifying conditions. Number one is your UTME. Whatever you score over 400, if you score 280, then you are going to divide that by 8, meaning that it is just 50%. So UTME is just 50% of whatever UNILAG is going to pay. Post-UTME is 30, then your SSC is 20, making 100 altogether. So if you have this, and you realize that this student performed very well in UTME, this student performed very well in post-UTME, and this student now sat SSC and is now scoring, getting C6, C4, C5, and this is somebody who may have actually sat GCE while in SS2 and perform far better. You can see that he doesn't compare, and that is why parents have genuine reasons to kick and are calling for remarking on CRIP. And if you look at it, WAEC is now creating a kind of, and it's telling them that they have to pay for remarking. I don't even know whether it is 6,000 naira per script that they are charging each parent. So if you feel that your English is not correct, you are saying that you are not adequately judged, you are not fairly judged, and you want them to check again, and they are saying you have to pay for it. How many parents can afford that? So if you are saying, I have 5 scripts that I want you to come and remark for me, yes, it means that 6,000 multiplied by 5, that's about 30,000 naira. So if you have 200 candidates who sat the exam, or 100 candidates, 30,000 multiplied by 100, and that's so you are talking in the range of about 3 million naira. So this is a challenge that Nigerians must be able to, WAEC must come to realize that you cannot take the future of the people and joke with it. It is not correct. It is not something that we should encourage. I think authorities must intervene. The Minister of Education or Basic Education must intervene. The critical stakeholders, including the Ministry of Education, including the Senate Committee on Education, House of Representatives Committee on Education. WAEC cannot be bigger than Nigeria. Yes, it's a regional body, but it cannot be bigger than Nigeria. On the day they conducted English, people insisted that you cannot force these people to sit this exam by fire by force. Because they will doing the same thing in Ghana, they are doing the same thing in Liberia, they are doing the same thing in Singapore. Cannot afford to hold an exam in Nigeria. But when the atmosphere was not correct, why should you compel students to take exams in an atmosphere that is not conducive? Students were asked to sit exams, 2 papers, under just about 1 or 2 hours. So we saw that happen in the last examination. So how do you expect such a student before they start the exam? So the atmosphere was terrible, not conducive for them, and as a result, you expect such students to do better, and that is why the parents who are genuine.
Okay. Now let's talk about the numbers. We got reported that 167,486 were detailed for alleged malpractice. So now that's a lot. Now beyond the figures itself, what does that say about Nigerian examination, like our students and Nigeria in the whole?
So you don't just pick that figure. You will have to ask the figure 160,000 from where? From how many other candidates? So when you look at it, about 2 million candidates actually sat the exam. If you say about 1,000 results are being for examination malpractice, yes, there will always be examination malpractice. We have always said that. Examination malpractice is a part of the system that we have created. Examination malpractice did not just originate. It's about the conditions that you have set. And what is this condition? The condition is the fact that there is so much reliance on certificates in Nigeria. So people must go all the way to go and get their results. Because you believe that once you don't have certificates, you cannot make it in this country. In advanced, in developed world, it is not about just certificate alone, it's about skill. So we don't emphasize skill here. So everybody wants to get federal job. People want to get into immigration, into civil, into custom, into whatever. And then it's just a certificate. Is that not correct?
Yeah.
So because you believe that somebody somewhere, a big man somewhere, and that's why you see Nigerians moving to places like Togo, like Benin Republic, just to go and get certificates at all costs. And once they have the certificate, nobody asks them questions. You continue to get, because merits have been relegated to the background. Anywhere you relegate merits to the background, you are going to see all manner of people cutting corners. People will definitely cut corners.
Yeah.
Because you know that all these papers that I have, I saw one cartoon the other day, and one of the cartoon show, the cartoon tells us that somebody was going for an interview, and he had a full load of certificates packed and carried like this. Another one just carried one big iPhone and wrote on his chest, son of so. Another one, a lady, not to malign the ladies anyway, but beautiful face and very, look very, very appealing. And they were asking a lot of people that, who do you think will get this job? And everybody was pointing to the one with connection and the one with beautiful face. So that is to tell you how much we are degenerated as a people and as a society. So that's the problem. So whenever you have such a system, then definitely people will continue to cheat. So 160-something thousand from 1 point, from close to 2 million, I'm sure I did not check very well. Those who must have cheated would have been close to 50% of those who sat the exam. Not because people are not brilliant, but because in fact there are schools who are in one way or the other forced to assist their students. Because they see other schools, billboard, A1, and 90-something percent, whatever percent, but go and check how do they get this 90-something percent. Ask the students who got these results, can they actually meet up with the larger Nigerian society if they are put to test? They cannot. But people will have to cut corner because the system encourages them to cut corner. Because merit has been relegated to the background. Because people are not rewarded based on what they have the quality to actually present.
So now let's talk about parents that are currently disappointed with the latest results and why released. What would you actually advise such parents to do? Would you advise them to do, I think earlier you made mention of the 6,000 naira that WAEC is actually requesting for people to pay. Would you say they do it so as to get their the right result of their kids or children?
I think this is not the first time people called for, and the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board had to recall its results and had to review, and at the end of the day, they came up with a solution that, look, this is the problem that we have and we are going to address it, this and that. Yes, I'm not too sure. I don't want to support the idea because it is not one person, not two persons, not three persons raising conversations around this. If that is much, I think it will be responsible for WAEC to actually review the entire process without collecting. It's also sabotaging the system, and it's under this new leadership in WAEC, and it's quite unfortunate. Dr. Danbuit, Amos Danbuit, who is the head of Nigeria's office, will need to check himself very well. He needs to check himself very, very, very well. He should find out staff complaining, workers complaining, parents complaining, students complaining. Even where he is the current HNO, he's having a lot of issues. And rather than checking in, I think he's also getting promotion. He's getting promoted to become the registrar of WAEC at the international level. I think WAEC itself needs to look deep into some of the issues against this. Nobody is against him, but how can you be the leader and it's either one problem today or tomorrow? He conducted just 2 SSC, and the 2 SSC are being fraught with irregularities. That's not too good. for his image and for the image of an examination body that is over 70 years old.
So how about the student whose result is, I mean, of not, like the grade is not good? And what do you have to say? How can institutions actually assist such a child?
Yeah, so I think we also need to appeal. Maybe the National Universities Commission must come in because many of them are going to be affected in their performance. They are going to be affected in their admission processing. Many of them, because like I said, for institutions that rely on your performance in SSC to be able to choose what you are going to get, they usually have problem. And what's this problem? The problem is that if your performance is low in